Hello, mighty companions. This is Earl Purdy, and I want to welcome you to Facebook Live, A Course in Miracles. And we're going to be talking about how do you let yourself experience your creativity, your blessing, your healing. How do you get rid of the blocks? What's the idea that can get rid of every block to you having the kind of perfect happiness that you deserve to have? And we're going to do it from a Course in Miracles perspective. So it's going to be great. I'm going to start out with our theme song from one of the Course in Miracles workbook lessons, lesson 5, which is actually, no, it's not lesson 5. But anyway, I'm going to give you a lesson from a Course in Miracles from Brother John Christmas at johnChristmas.com called I Am Not a Victim. I'm not the victim. I'm not a victim of the world I see, where our mighty companions come in. I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. I'm not a victim of my mom. I'm not a victim of my pa. I'm not a victim of even circumstance at all. I'm not a victim. You're not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. That's what's happening. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. If you want to get rid of the blocks, how do you get rid of the blocks to having the peace, abundance, joy, happiness, and love? And how should you see the people around you to heal yourself? What's the correct perception according to the Course in Miracles? We're going to talk about that. Oh yeah. I'm not a victim of the North. I'm not a victim of the South. Not a victim of anything except what comes out my mouth. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. Help me out now. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. You are so innocent, innocent, innocent. You are innocent, innocent, innocent. You are sinless. You are guiltless. You are sinless. You are guiltless. You are innocent. You are innocent. You are loved. Oh yeah. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. And that includes the good stuff. Oh yeah. What's happening to me is what I done to me. This is Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to A Course in Miracles. I'd like to start out by saying, no matter what you're going through right now, no matter what seems to be causing you any kind of fear or upset or concern, no matter what the pattern is you think you've had for ages that you'd like to see differently, whatever is happening in your life that's giving you any kind of pain or suffering or sorrow, that problem can be solved and it's already been solved. There's not a problem that hasn't already been solved. The Course in Miracles has a workbook lesson that says, let me recognize the problem has already been solved. And that used to be like, what do you mean recognize the problem has already been solved? Yeah, that simply means there's already a solution to the problem that you think you have. It's already been solved. If you are willing just for a moment to remember only this. I want to ask you to take a breath right now and relax. What I'm about to tell you is not about analyzing. I'm not going to analyze the Course in Miracles. It's not about trying to clear away your projections necessarily or your judgments necessarily and other conditioning that interferes with your relationships. You might, in a way, believe it or not, it's going to sound kind of paradoxical, but in a way, to love others, you really don't have to eliminate your conditions and you don't really have to eliminate your projections. What you ultimately are going to be doing that actually helps you do that is you're going to be dropping into the very core of your own being. Because at the core of your being, that's where oneness is located. That is where love is located. It's located at the core of your being. So drop into the oneness of your being, drop into the core of your being, and then be with the other person, be with the other people that are here. I'm going to give you a lot of instructions. I'm a messenger. I see myself as a messenger. Another term for minister is messenger. I didn't write the Course in Miracles. And the Course in Miracles says no matter what your reaction to the ideas may be, just use them. And if you use them, he says the ideas will show you that the ideas are true. So the Course in Miracles says that in order to really grasp what it's teaching, at the beginning of the workbook in the Course in Miracles, it says, remember only this. Remember this only. This is the only thing I want you to remember. That's what the Course says. This is what I want you to remember. Remember that you need not believe the ideas. Remember that you don't need to believe the ideas. I'm not trying to convince you to believe the ideas. The Course in Miracles says you need not accept the ideas. So it's not about getting you to accept it. It's not about getting me to believe it necessarily, to use the workbook and to really work with the ideas. It says you might not even welcome the ideas. So the Course in Miracles may say things that you don't accept, you don't believe, and you don't welcome. It even says that some of the ideas you might actively resist, that you might resist some of the ideas. That some of the things that I say to you today, you might resist it. The Course in Miracles also says some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Some of the ideas. It says some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. And others may seem to be quite startling. Some of the other ideas in the Course in Miracles, some of the ideas in the Course in Miracles may seem to be quite startling. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. And then it says after that, you are not asked to judge the ideas at all. No one's asking you to judge the ideas at all. No one's asking you to analyze the ideas at all. Their use will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. The using it. And the Course in Miracles, in the 40 years that I've been teaching and learning A Course in Miracles, one of the things that I'm most astonished by often It's all the tricks and games that our mind will play to keep us from hearing these totally loving ideas. And one of the biggest ideas the Course in Miracles says that blocks us is our belief that we already know. There's a part of us that does, but there's a part of us that seems like it doesn't. And that's the part of us with the Social Security number. That's the part of us that likes to pretend that it knows what's going to happen later on today or tomorrow. It's the part of us that still thinks that it can plan for our future better than that which created us can. The Course in Miracles is a spiritual path. It's not a path that's just about trying to manifest material things in the world. Actually, that's not what it's talking about at all. It's teaching us how to change our perception. It works at the level of the mind. It is a course in mind training. The Course in Miracles wants to teach you another way of looking at things, to give you another way of looking at things. And what's so cool about it is it actually gives you the new interpretations that you can use that will ultimately bring you peace. So it works at the level of the mind. It works at the level of perception. And we're going to be in chapter 14, those of you who are following along in your Course in Miracles book, because I am primarily I want to be helpful to everybody that watches. But I really am gunning for Course in Miracles students, people who have decided that this is a path they would really like to pursue, even if they don't understand it. And I'm going to start off chapter 14, section 5, page 282. And the Course in Miracles says many times in the book, it says, read me slowly. Read me slowly. And it says many times in the book, remember, don't forget, remember, don't forget, remember, don't forget, remember. There's nowhere in there that it says analyze, figure this out, analyze, figure this out. Don't forget, remember. And then it uses Christian terminology to talk about universal spiritual themes. So don't get caught up in the language that it's written in. Don't let that be a block to you. I'm going to substitute some of the Course in Miracles definitions for the words that it uses to give you kind of like even a more modern language version of what it's talking about. It's so good to be with you, mighty companion. So good to be here. So good to have you online. And so we're going to see if we can hear what we're being told, okay? It says, it started out with, blessed son of a holy blessing father, joy was created for you, blessed child of a totally blessing creator. Joy was created for you. Now, I'm just delivering a message, like I'm saying. What that means is I'm going to share what it's saying, but you're the one that's going to give it all the meaning that it has to you. And so what I found interesting about that statement was it said, joy was created for me. Now notice it didn't say it was about me creating my joy. See, the average person is always trying to create their joy, and they tend to fail miserably. Just check with most of the people you know and see how successful they've been at creating any kind of permanent happiness for themselves. And then the Course in Miracles says, well, this is the way it works. Actually, your joy was created for you. There's been joy that's been created for you because that which loves you wants to bless you. So that which loves you wants to bless you by creating joy for you. It's sort of like giving a surprise birthday party for your friend. You want to bless your friend, so you created that joyful experience for them because you love them and you wanted to bless them. So if anybody's ever done anything beautiful for you or done anything for you that gave you joy, you know it's possible for someone to create happiness or extend joy for you. Well, that is exactly what the Course in Miracles is saying. Our Creator has already created joy for us, but you're not showing up for your birthday party because you're too busy trying to come up with something else to make you happy. So when you listen to the Course, you could take one sentence of the Course in Miracles and really hear that sentence and change your perception. Then the Course in Miracles says, what next? Okay, so you've been blessed by God. I want you to think about this for a minute. The infinite creator of the universe has blessed you, whether you know it or not. You knowing it or not doesn't mean it's not happened, okay? So I want you to hear what it's saying. So the Course in Miracles is saying, if God has blessed you, if love has blessed you, if God has blessed you, if your creator has blessed you, if love has blessed you, then who can condemn you? Who can actually condemn you if God has blessed you? If love has blessed you? If the universe is blessing you, who can condemn you? And you have what the Course calls a shining innocence. You don't have regular innocence. You have what the Course in Miracles calls a shining innocence. And the Course in Miracles says there is nothing in the mind of God that doesn't share God's love's shining innocence. So what is a characteristic of love? What is a characteristic of love? A characteristic of love is innocence. A characteristic of love is innocence. One of the things that the Course in Miracles teaches is that it's trying to teach us the difference between what love is and what love is not. The Course in Miracles says we don't know the difference between love and fear. The Course in Miracles says we don't know the difference between what's true and what's false. So the whole purpose of the Course is to simply teach us the difference between a true perception and a false perception. To teach us the difference between what is love and what's not love. And then it teaches that if you know the difference between the two, you have enough intelligence and wisdom to choose for the love. But it says we have given love characteristics that are not characteristics of love. Possession is not a characteristic of love. Attack is not a characteristic of love. Anger is not a characteristic of love. Sickness is not a characteristic of love. Lack is not a characteristic of love. Someone trying to dominate you, abuse you, control you, project you on you, blame you, attack you, that is not love. That is not love. So the Course in Miracles is saying to you, you've been blessed. And so how do you know you're being blessed by love? You know you're being blessed by love. Number one is that love has joy in it. And love provides you with joy. Then the next thing it says is that, and since you are loved by God, then you are blessed. And who can condemn someone that's being blessed and has been blessed by love? If you've been blessed by love and you know you've been blessed by love, you're not even attracted to fear and guilt and anger and attack. That's not even something that you would be drawn to. It wouldn't even be something that you would tolerate for yourself. A lot of times people go, I don't know how to set boundaries for myself. Well, all you have to do to set a boundary for yourself is to get to the point that you allow Spirit to provide that joy and allowed you to have that love and you to know that love at your core that you deserve, and that will be your boundary. Because you wouldn't let anyone attack you, misuse you, abuse you when you feel that love and that joy, that's your natural state. So I'm saying this way because I want to know when I'm loving myself and when I'm not loving myself. And I want to know when someone is extending love to me and when they're not. And then I want to know that which created me, how is it relating to me? So the Course says there is nothing in the mind of God that doesn't share his shining innocence. So what is creation? The Course in Miracles is then about to give us a definition of creation. And it says creation is the natural extension of perfect purity. So creating is you extending your innocence, extending your perfect purity, your complete purity. The Course in Miracles teaches that perfect means complete. So when it says the term you are perfect, it's saying you are whole. It's saying there's nothing missing in you. There's nothing lacking in you. That's what it means when it says perfection. It's not talking about some state which you no longer can expand and create and grow. It's just saying you're perfect. There's nothing missing in you. There's not going to be a heaven recall because somehow some part is missing in you and they're going to call you back. The truth is you are blessed. And if you're going to be creative, you're going to be creative. It says creation is the natural extension of perfect purity. So if you are creation, then what does that mean? It means you are the natural extension of perfect purity. It means that you are the natural extension of complete innocence. That's what you are. Now, why is it so important for you to accept your innocence and let go of any thoughts of your guilt? Well, the Course in Miracles teaches that guilt is the request for punishment. That when someone is feeling guilty, they're actually requesting punishment. So if you think requesting punishment for yourself is a smart move, then I have to let you go ahead and have the experience of that. But the Course in Miracles is saying that you are the natural extension of perfect purity, and what is your only calling here? What is your real calling here? The Course in Miracles says that the reason why people are not truly happy and fulfilled is because they're not fulfilling their function. That if you're fulfilling your function, you're happy. If you're fulfilling your function, you're happy. It teaches that your happiness and your function are the same thing. Your happiness and your function are the same thing. Your happiness and your function are the same thing. What did I just say? Your happiness and your function are the same thing. So if your happiness and your function are the same thing, then when you're fulfilling your function, you are happy. You are being, you know your happiness and joy. I know we would like to make it more complicated than that because that could give us an excuse for stalling around even more before we let ourselves be happy. But the truth is simple, but it's very different. For instance, it says, well, let me tell you something. If somebody loves you, if something created you in love, the first thing I'm going to tell you is that they're going to want you to have joy. That what loves you is going to want you to have joy. Then the Course says, and you're not going to be condemning someone you love, and someone you love is not going to be condemning you, because who could condemn who God or love has blessed? So if you love me, you're not condemning me, and I'm not condemning you. Okay, what's another characteristic of love? That you have the exact same innocence that your Creator does. That you have that same shining innocence, because there's nothing in the mind of God that's not like the mind of God, which is the same as saying there is nothing like love, the mind of love. There's nothing in the mind of love that doesn't share love's innocence. So if you are love, you are innocent. So that kind of blows to smithereens that teaching that you are sinful, that you were born in sin, that you are guilty, that's your core. I know you can tell me a lot of things that maybe you think you have done that you feel really guilty about, but that's no more you than the dirt that's on your body before you wash it off in the shower. So yeah, you think you might be guilty, and yes, you might have done some things that kind of sucked in the past that really wasn't a reflection of what real love looks like. That's the dirt. That's your call for love. That's your request to take a bath. That's your request to take a spiritual shower. But that's not you. That's not you. That's not you. You are innocence. You are innocent. You are innocent. Who you really are is innocent, because you are really loved. You are an extension of the perfect purity of love. You are love. You are the perfect purity of love. Now, why am I repeating this so much? Because everything is a reflection of an idea. Everything is an idea. Everything is an idea. And an idea gets stronger the more you share it. So the more you share an idea, the more you repeat an idea, the more you focus on an idea, the stronger that idea becomes. And one of the beautiful things about an idea is you can give an idea away and you still keep it. That's what's real. Anything that's real, when you give it away, it increases what you have. It doesn't take anything away from you. So I'm saying to you something that you may not be saying to yourself on a regular basis, and I'm saying something to you that the people around you may not be saying to you on a regular basis. And so that's why I'm repeating instead of analyzing, because we need to introduce the idea of our perfect and complete innocence, and that love only wants us to be blessed, and love provides us with joy. And so the Course in Miracles says, well, I'm going to tell you what your calling is. I'm delivering a message. I'm going to tell you what your calling is. What is your calling? He says, well, your calling here is to devote yourself. What? It says, my calling here is to devote myself. And then it says, devote myself with what kind of willingness? It says you need to devote yourself with active willingness, dude. You need to have willingness that's active. You need to have some willingness that you're really doing something about, some willingness that you are really being active about. And then the Course in Miracles says, you know what? What is it that you need to devote yourself? What is it that you need to devote yourself to? Well, I have tried to devote myself to people, and I've tried to devote myself to relationships, and I've tried to devote myself to my career. But how often have I really tried to devote myself to the denial of guilt? Am I devoted to the denial of guilt in every form that guilt comes in? It says that my only calling here is to devote myself with active willingness to the denial of guilt in every form it takes. So if I love you, every time you tell me something that you're feeling guilty about, I'm going to remind you of your shining and complete innocence. Yes, you might have wrong-mindedness. Yes, you might need a new perception of something. Yes, you might need to correct your perception of something, but I want you to know you are not guilty. You're not guilty. I'm going to help you deny guilt in all its forms. You're going to help me deny guilt in all its forms. And if we are an innocent mind, we don't believe what? We don't believe that an innocent mind deserves to suffer. So just the idea of innocence moves you in a place where your mind will not be creating a lot of pain and suffering from you, because your own programming has already taught you that an innocent person doesn't deserve to be punished. But the cultural programming of our dream in this world has also taught us that someone who's guilty and someone who's bad needs to be punished. So when you focus on your guilt, you're focusing on the idea of you being punished. The world, your reality, reflects your consciousness and your thought. And so you draw it, attract it, make it, create it in your perception, and you wonder where it's coming from. It's coming from you not fulfilling your calling. And what is your calling? To proactively deny guilt in all its forms. Well, how are you denying guilt when you're calling yourself guilty? And how are you denying guilt when you're calling someone else guilty? And then you're surprised you're broke. You're surprised you're sad. You're surprised you're depressed. You're surprised that you're in relationships and situations that doesn't give you peace. It's a form of punishment. It's a form of punishment. I feel guilty. I don't believe I necessarily deserve to have those blessings that joy provides for me through love. So the Course in Miracles says to accuse is not to understand. What do you mean to accuse is not to understand? Well, if I understood that my active calling in this life is to deny guilt in all its forms and to remind people of their innocence and to remind myself of my innocence, then if I'm accusing you of something, then I obviously don't understand. Because if I understood, I wouldn't be condemning you and accusing you. The Course in Miracles is ridiculously sane and reasonable. It'll drive us out of our minds. But it'll drive us out of our minds and into the mind of love and into the mind of God. So what do you need to remember out of what I've said so far? I would suggest you remembering that you should not be trying to make yourself feel guilty, and you should not be trying to make other people feel guilty. That's too complex, isn't it? That you should be, every time you get ready to try to make someone feel guilty, in order for, the Course in Miracles says we use anger to try to make someone feel so guilty that they'll basically do what we want them to do. Just to put it in plain language. I don't know about you, but when I was more asleep than I am now, I used to use guilt to try to get people to do what I wanted. I would get angry and try to make them feel guilty and how they should be doing more of what I want them to do. And I thought they were selfish if they didn't do what I wanted them to do, which was actually me being selfish. If I want you to do what I want you to do, regardless of whether you want to do it, then I'm the one that's being selfish and only thinking about myself. But see, I'm trying to play that mind game on the other person and tell them that they're the one that's being selfish because they won't make the sacrifice for me. Because, I think love is sacrifice. So if you really love me, you're going to sacrifice for me. Because that's what people do who love each other. What do you mean? Let me get this straight. You mean if I love somebody and I get in a relationship with them, the role I have to play is not doing anything I really want to do? If I don't, and that's somehow or another, I'm showing them that I love them. If I keep doing what I don't really want to do for them, no wonder I don't want to be in the relationships and I'm more happy being single and by myself. Who needs that? That's like getting in a relationship where you're saying, I want you to enslave me. I'm calling it a relationship, but I'm really in a relationship with my master, right? So the Course in Miracles is saying to us that the happy learners of the atonement, the happy learners of the undoing of guilt, the happy learners of the undoing of fear, the happy learners of innocence, these are all terms that the Course in Miracles uses for atonement. And it was channeled as the word atonement. It was not channeled as the word at one meant, which a lot of times people like to switch that. And you're innocent. Since there's no sin and you're innocent, you can do anything you want to. But I just want you to share with you that it is the atonement is your innocence. And again, I know you can read faster than I'm talking, but that's the trick with the Course in Miracles, is that the mind tells you, race ahead, race ahead. Don't take a moment to allow what you're being said to really be integrated in you and to really hear it and to see it. You know, because what's so deep is that I cannot tell you how many situations and circumstances in my life that I thought were crises, that I could not see a way out of, that I jumped in my car, went to the park, took my Course in Miracles book out, and focused on reading it and focused on the truth that it was sharing with me. And I would read until I felt better. Like people say, how long should you read? I say, until you feel better, until you feel somewhat lighter. And I cannot tell you how many times I have gone back home or had that situation mysteriously clear itself up beautifully, much better and faster than anything that I was thinking about doing. And it has happened so many times over the last 40 years that I have no doubt that whatever I'm going through, before I deal with it in the illusionary world, before I pick up the phone and call anybody, before I try to talk to anybody about it, before I call the business up to see what went wrong, I focus in on what the Course in Miracles is teaching me, what the truth is teaching me, because the Course teaches that the only reason those challenges are coming up, really, is just to distract you from not focusing on the truth, to make you forget that you have help. You are not alone. There's another way of looking at it. And for those of you who think the Course in Miracles is not talking about miracles that go beyond time and space and the laws that we believe in, it says it right there in the book, that miracles transcend the laws that we believe. They transcend the rules that we live by as human beings. So you're not being woo-woo if you're studying the Course in Miracles and the idea of a miracle, which is something happened that's such an expression of love that it solves your problems and what you think of as your problems in ways you never dreamed of. That's what the Course in Miracles calls natural. It says if miracles are natural, miracles should be natural in your life. The expression of love should be natural in your life. It should be natural for you to be loved. It should be natural for you to be happy. It should be natural for you to have what you need. The Course in Miracles says that should be your ordinary life. It shouldn't be special for somebody to love you. It shouldn't be special for you to have the prosperity and abundance that you need to take care of your needs in the world. It says that Spirit knows that you think you have needs in this world and that you will be given what you need to stay if you are willing to fulfill your function. And do you know what your function is? The Course in Miracles says, and that's easy too, so that's why it's hard for people to get it, I think, sometimes. He says your function is to be here and basically be here and don't think like nobody else here. That your function is to be here and have a loving perception, the correct perception, not to think in terms of anger, guilt, and grievances, and ego, and separation. That you're here to be the alternative. You're here to represent the other way we can be. And then the promise is, if you're willing to be here and to give everybody the message, either in your mind or verbally, when you're told to tell them verbally, that they are innocent and you recognize that their true selves are sinless and innocent and guiltless, your minds are joined. So what you think about them is also happening in their mind too. The Course in Miracles teaches that there is just one mind, so there's nothing that goes in your mind that doesn't go into the collective mind. So you're being willing to remember this. Do you know you're actually remembering it for everyone? And to me, that's easier. After doing this for so many years, most of the time, I don't say anything to anybody in any kind of way about correcting anything in any kind of way at all. All of a sudden, I know why beings who are more awake than me don't say nothing. They're not even engaging my ego. They're not even interested in what my ego believes is true. The part of me that doesn't know. It's not even concerned with that part. It's reminding the part of me that I really am what I really am. So the Course in Miracles says to accuse is not to understand, and the happy learners of the atonement become what? You are going to become a happy learner. And what are you going to teach? Well, he says, well, if you want to be a happy learner, if you want to have a happy life, if you want to have a happy experience of learning, this is what you must do. You must be a teacher of the innocence. Who am I? I am a teacher of innocence. I'm going to demonstrate as much as I can that you're innocent and that I'm innocent. And then it says, why? Why should I be teaching everyone that they're innocent? Well, of course, it says, well, you need to teach everyone that they're innocent because that's the right of everything that God created. That it's your right. Your innocence is your right. Innocence is your right. It's not something that somebody else grants to you and you don't have it until they tell you you're innocent. Because the miracle says, if you're going to be a happy learner, if you're going to be here and be happy, then at some point in your spiritual evolution, you're going to realize that content is more important than form, and you're going to be wanting to affect people's minds much more than you want to affect their body. And so you're going to be looking at them correctly, which means you're going to recognize that they are beings that absolutely have the right to their innocence, and they're innocent, and they are innocent no matter what you think about them. There's a line in the Course in Miracles where Jesus says, love wouldn't be fair if it left you being helped up to the people who don't even know what love is. And that's a paraphrase. And that makes so much sense to me. It's like you in a world where people don't really have the slightest idea in general what love really is. That they think they're separate and they think they're afraid. And they don't love themselves as they should, and generally they don't love anybody else as they should, and they judge, and they believe in guilt, and they believe in sin. Do you think if I loved you, I would set it up that those would be the people that you would have to depend on to get the love and support and the healing that you deserve? You think I'm so cruel that I'd leave your happiness up to people who have no idea what real love and real happiness is? The Course does that kind of stuff all the time. So wait a minute. I love you too much to leave you in the hands of your brothers and sisters. That's how you know I love you. I'm not making your happiness dependent on what these jokers do, because they don't even give themselves happiness yet. So the Course in Miracles says, if you want to be a happy learner, then if you want to have a life that is full of joy and is more peaceful, use these ideas. Don't analyze it. He says, use these ideas. Because, like I said, if you would give attention to love rather than to your judgment and other conditions, and it does take willingness on your part to be willing to focus on the truth more than on your judgments. So you have to be willing to see that the state of mind from which you ordinarily see the world, that state of mind is an egoic state of consciousness. And an egoic state of consciousness is not the best place, and it's not the only place from which to live. You don't have to live from a fearful level of consciousness. You don't have to live from a guilt-ridden level of consciousness. That's not the best place to live. Because what you're looking at in your physical world is a reflection of your state of mind. You're looking at your state of mind. You're looking at your state of mind. You're walking around in your state of mind. You are experiencing, and a lot of people don't want to hear that. I know I'm saying what a lot of people don't want to hear. They rather me say, you're doing it right and everything is going wrong because of what somebody or something outside of yourself is not doing. That's what I would say to you if I wanted you to continue to suffer. If I really wanted to help somebody suffer, I keep making them think that their happiness depended on something or someone outside of themselves. It's almost like people come to you to help them continue to do what doesn't work better, and they call it counseling. In other words, I want to say basically the way that I am without going through the suffering that it causes me. And I need you to tell me how to get everything to change without me changing my own mind. And if you can do that, you're a great, accurate counselor. But if you at any level tie me to what I'm going through, then I think you're bashing the victim. And now actually I'm bashing you if I don't empower you. I'm bashing you if I don't remind you you're the holy child of God. I'm bashing you if I say anything about you other than your true nature is love. That's bashing you. Sometimes I compliment people and tell them how beautiful I think they are and how loving I think they are. You know what they say to me most of the time? They say, you're building up my ego. You're trying to build up my ego. And I said, no, I'm building up your ego if I call you a no good son of a gun. I'm building up your ego if I say you are fearful and guilty and you don't deserve to be happy. I'm building your ego when I attack you. That's building your ego, telling you that you deserve love, telling you that you're loving, telling you that you are powerful, telling you that you have a shining innocence. That's your right. That's building and reminding you of who and what you really are. Now I'm telling you the truth about you, and you need to get rid of any thoughts that would make you disagree with me. That's your spiritual work. Because if you're a conscious being, if you're an awakening being, you would want to join with me on the idea of your shining innocence and that you deserve love and that you deserve to have joy provided for you. Take a breath. So either I'm waking you up or I'm putting you to sleep. Either you're going, man, I'm so glad that somebody's telling me that I'm innocent and I really deserve love and that I can't make a mistake that can't be corrected and that which created me loves me and wants to bless me. Oh, I've been waiting for somebody to say something like that to me. Or you won't hear me at all because it's so different from the way that you think about yourself that you can't even hear loving thoughts and loving words. See, if a person really hates themselves, they could be in the presence of the most loving person you could imagine. They wouldn't even see them, wouldn't even appreciate them, wouldn't even acknowledge them. So I'm telling you that you're surrounded by more love than you can maybe see right now. So what we're going to do is get to the easy way to get to it. Well, the Course says, well, the easy way to get to it is to fulfill your calling. Then you say, well, what is your calling? Well, your calling here is to devote yourself with active willingness to the denial of guilt in all its forms. Now, let me ask you, had you already forgotten that? Be honest with yourself. You know you probably already forgotten it. But the ego says, rush ahead. You're brilliant. Read even faster because I'm your ego and I'm a spiritual ego. And spiritual egos have studied a whole lot of truth books. And so they know how to rattle off every truth principle that you could imagine. And so it convinces me that I know, and so therefore I'm tricked to still just go into my little self all the time for guidance. Rather than remembering that, no, brother, just remember all day long, every time you get a chance, remember the innocence of everybody you're seeing and deny their guilt in all its forms. And that doesn't mean you have to necessarily tell them that verbally. What do you mean? Well, if you tell them that verbally, because you decide to tell them that verbally, you might get some pushback. But if you would tell it to who Spirit has sent you to tell it to, the Course in Miracles says you can tell when you're helping someone the Spirit wants you to help, because helping them and sharing with them will energize you and it won't drain you. So, and then my ego goes, it's got to be more complicated than that. Nah, it's not more complicated than that. If I'm your inspiration, if I'm your happiness, that's what Spirit is saying. If following me brings you joy, then why would I send you something that doesn't give you joy? Why would I send someone to you that could not be a channel for joy? And so what do you need to do, Purdy? Well, all I need to do is remember when I feel like I'm getting upset because my script isn't being acted out, or I don't feel like I'm as special as I need to be. So now I'm tempted to try to make that person feel guilty so that they'll do what I want them to do. Ha! I'm going to stop because I know that's what causes anger. That's what causes guilt. That's what causes sickness. That's what causes all the challenges that I see in my perception is coming from my guilt. And I know that whatever I see in somebody else, I'm increasing that in my own mind about myself. So I'm either going to form relationships that reinforce my guilt and therefore reinforce my punishment and pain, which of course called special relationships, or I'm going to form a relationship where the purpose of the relationship is to continually remind each other of the innocence that we are in the condition of ourselves as innocent. And sure, we're learning. We still got things to learn, but it's rooted in us both knowing that our purpose, more than anything else, is to remind each other of each other's innocence and not of each other's guilt. Don't tell me that you couldn't have that as a goal. Don't tell me that you couldn't move in that direction. That's the challenge with the Course in Miracles. It's because it doesn't ask of us anything that we can't start trying to apply right now. And when your ego or your wrong mind comes up with a plan, it's always going to involve something you can't have or do right now. And that's how the Course in Miracles says you can tell the difference between when Spirit is asking and wants you to do something and when you're making it up. When you make it up, it's always got to happen in the future. I'll be happy when I finish medical school. I'll be happy when I get that person that's going to be my soulmate. I'll be happy when I make $1 million. Anything that's future-oriented is not something that's anything but something that's coming from your ego. That's what you want to remember. And anything that's coming from spirit is now oriented, so it would be something that you could do now. Like right now, I could say, I don't want to reinforce your guilt. Right now, I could catch myself when I'm getting ready to attack you for any reason. Right now, I could remind myself that if God wants to bless me and that I've already been blessed, but what I need to do is get rid of any subconscious guilt that I have at any level so that I can recognize my innocence. And in recognizing my innocence, I would recognize that I deserve the blessings that are going to be coming my way, because it's not until I believe I deserve them that I can recognize them. That if someone tells me that they love me and they see something in me that I don't see in me, the temptation would be for me to doubt the truth of what they're saying to me, or make me be suspicious. Have you ever done that? Someone saying really something really loving to you, and your first impression is to become suspicious of it? Well, think about that. It's because they might be saying something so wonderful to you that is beyond what you believe is true for you. So therefore, it would mean they have to be lying about what they're saying at some level, because they are giving me more love than I'm capable of allowing and receiving right now. So there is love all around you that you just haven't seen yet, because you haven't, with active willingness, focused on your true function, the Course says, which is the denial of guilt in all its forms. And then the Course in Miracles says, deny your brothers and sisters not what is their due. I am not going to deny you what you're due. And your due is to the recognition that you are innocent, you are sinless, you are guiltless. Notice I say that over and over again. That's because the most important thing you can walk away from this with today would be one idea that's the truth that you're going to actively start trying to apply in your day-to-day reality. Your ego would love for us to do a complicated analysis of everything that this is saying and overlook the simple instruction that we're being given right now. So I'm with someone and I'm in a relationship with someone, and that person is constantly reflecting back to me that I'm not enough, that I'm guilty, that I'm unsatisfied in some way. They never acknowledge me, never appreciate me, never touch me, never show me any affection, never try to do anything with me, and I'm scared to talk to them. Now, are we in a loving relationship? And people will actually ponder that. They'll go, you think he just had his hand around my throat, pinning me against the wall. You think he don't love me? Well, that's a pretty obvious sign that what you're experiencing is not him having the active willingness and the devotion to your innocence in that moment. So in that moment, the relationship is no relationship at all. The relationship isn't real. So I am not going to deny that person their due. I'm going to still try to see that person as innocent, even if their ego is active. I'm still going to try to remember that who they really are, their true selves, is not guilty. Because if I deny, he says it right here, if you deny them what is their due, and what is that? He says, well, their due is the recognition of their innocence, to give them the message that they're innocent and they're sinless and that they're guiltless. See, the temptation would be to pull back off the book and then go, oh my goodness, let me figure out what he's talking about. Well, actually, it's in exactly what we just read. Everything is right in front of your face. It's only your ego that needs to back off the book and go, now let me see if I can fit this into my wisdom. Let me see if I can fit this into my brilliant interpretation of what it's saying. And the truth is, it's already told you that what? Your only calling here is to devote yourself with active willingness to denial of guilt in all its forms. If you're confusing somebody, it means you don't really understand what the truth is. And if you're going to be a happy learner, then you have to become a teacher of innocence that's the right of everybody that exists. And if you deny them their due, what did it say? Then you're going to be withholding it from yourself. So if I don't see you as innocent, then I'm withholding my own innocence. It's a variety of reasons why that's easy to see. One really easy way to see it is that we are one. We are one self. We are just one self. We are just one self. There's just one self expressing itself, and part of this expression of itself is you. There's just one self. We have just one self. So that means if I see you as guilty, I'm seeing me as guilty. If you see me as guilty, you are seeing you as guilty, because I am you. My body is not you. I am you. My body isn't you. Your body isn't me. You are me. I am you. So whatever comes, the Course in Miracles says, one of my favorite rules is it says, whatever comes through you has an effect on you. So if guilt and anger and attack comes through me, it's going to have an effect on me first. It's going to have an effect on my mind first. So everything you say about somebody else is really what's going to come to you. And it's really what's affecting your mind. In one of the later chapters, he talks about when somebody asks you something, he says, before you respond, stop for a second and tell yourself, what I'm about to say to them is what's going to come to me. What I'm getting ready to tell you is what's going to come to me. So I'm going to answer you in terms of what is it that you want to come to you? Well, I want love and peace and joy and happiness to come to me. So I'm going to answer you really in terms of what I want. Well, what do you mean? You're not going to try to answer me in terms of what I'm trying to receive? You're going to answer me in terms of what you want? Yeah, I'll tell you why I'm going to do that. Because you're interpreting everything I say to you. You're not hearing anything. I could be as careful as I could possibly be trying to talk to you, and you're still going to give your meaning to whatever you hear me saying. And you're going to be responding to your interpretation of what I'm saying. I might mean one thing, and you interpret it in a whole another way. Think about it. How many times in your life have you said something to somebody as clearly as you possibly could, and what they said back to you that they heard you say was so far left field or what you were talking about that you almost couldn't even believe it? You mean that's what you think I said? So yeah, because that person heard their interpretation of what you said. So really, it's not so much about what you say, it's what's about the energy behind the words that you use. You're using words, right? But do you have love behind those words, or do you have anger, guilt, and grievances behind those words? Also know that they're only going to hear their own interpretation of what you're saying anyway. So that's why you should answer someone in terms of what is it that you want. Because you're clear about what you mean, then they'll ever be clear about what you mean. And whatever you say is going to have an effect on your own mind, and your reality is going to be a reflection of your state of mind. So use every opportunity when you're talking to people to give what you want to receive, fully recognizing they're only going to hear what they want to hear anyway. They're going to give what you're saying the meaning that they want to give it anyway. And so you're trying to be so careful to make sure you're saying it just right. Really is a fruitless attempt, because you're still not going to get past the fact that they're going to interpret what you're saying. And they're going to interpret what you're saying based on their own level of consciousness. So when I say I love you, I know that that means I free you. They may hear me say I love you, and to them that means that they now possess me. So that means that when you're talking to people, remember again, everyone's giving what you're saying all the meaning that it has for them. They're interpreting everything you're saying, and they are hearing what they want to hear. And what they're hearing is based on what they believe about themselves and what they want for themselves. So if I want guilt and anger and attack for myself, then when I hear you talking to me, I'm going to be giving you some kind of guilt and anger and attack in response to what you're saying. I'm angry and I'm attacking what you're saying because that's what I believe I deserve. So the truth is, you really need me when you're angry at yourself and trying to pick a fight with me. You really need me to devote myself with active willingness to helping you see and reminding you of your innocence and denying your guilt in every form. And don't misperceive me, brothers and sisters out there. I'm not saying we don't make mistakes and that people don't do some things that are not loving, but those things deserve loving, helpful correction. Those things need to be corrected. Those wrong thoughts that produce that painful action, it needs correction. But that person, who they really are, who you really are, is love. And who you really are is innocent. And if you want to see things appear to clear up in your life, almost as if it looks like magic, then start to remind yourself of your sinlessness and guiltlessness, and use every opportunity all day long to remind yourself of the innocence of others, even if they don't recognize it. All right, so I'm going to do a quick recap in a minute, because I don't want to forget that, because somebody's not going to act out my script today some kind of way. And then I'm going to be tempted again to try to use anger and upset to get them to treat me right. So those of you, I'm a full-time teacher of A Course in Miracles. If you feel led to and you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, then you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, earlpurdy.com, P-U-R-D-Y, and you can use PayPal, or you can use Venmo, or you can use Cash App. My email address is earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. That's my email address, earlpurdy@earlpurdy.com. On Thursday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, I do hardcore Course in Miracles on Facebook Live on the Earl Purdy page. And you can watch it live and you can watch the replays. I also have hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube that you can also watch. And on Sundays at 1 p.m. Mountain Time, I'm doing A Course in Miracles on Facebook Live. And you're invited to take part in that. My goal right now is to really remember what he's saying, and to remember what I'm being told to do, which is more like what I'm being told. It's really what I'm being told is how to see things. And that's what I want to remember, because my experience has shown me that I make my life much harder than it has to be by simply not following instructions. Because the Course in Miracles says it can't think of a teaching that asks for less, that offers you more. There's a line in the Course in Miracles where it says, I will tell you what to do and do it for you. And you will find that more restful than sleep. That's awesome. Not only do I love you so much, I'm going to guide you. But I love you so much, I'm going to do it for you. I just need for you to show me a little bit of willingness. Well, what would be that little bit of willingness? Well, the willingness to focus any kind of attention and study on what I'm being told. And it works. I'm available for one-on-one sessions called clarity sessions, where I take over 40 years that I've also been a practicing astrologer and numerologist, and over 40 years of working with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, I said thousands of people. And I'm going to show you how you can take what the Course in Miracles is teaching and how you can give it a practical application to whatever the situation and circumstance that you're dealing with. It's called a clarity session. And those who really want to be mentored and coached by someone who loves and has devoted decades to this path, then I'm also available for that too. So you're not alone. You're never alone. You're not alone. You're never alone. You're not alone. You're never alone. So sign up for the contact list. And those of you in the Denver area, I have resumed doing live in-person classes. But I also have changed a lot since the last time I did that over a year ago. And I've done a tremendous amount of looking at my ego and studying and focusing in on the truth that's created internal shifts that are beyond anything that I could have imagined. So I know that I'm in another place. So I'm curious to see who the Holy Spirit is going to send. I bless and release everybody from the past. I bless and release everybody from the past who ever came to my classes. I want to see who values and who was sent by the Holy Spirit to me now. Who wants to relate to who I am now. What's really cool is that I trust the Holy Spirit. I trust Spirit to send me those who are the people that I need to learn from right now. Because everyone that comes to me is my teacher. Everyone that comes to me is my teacher. They're bringing to me what I need to let go within myself, those who are in your life. They're bringing you what you need to look at in your own mind. But now you know what your purpose is. You know what you need to devote yourself to. Devote yourself actively. You blessed child of a blessing creator. Do you know joy was created for you? You. Joy was created for you. Joy was created for you. I would not condemn you. God has blessed you. There's nothing in the mind of love that doesn't share its innocence. You are innocent. You are innocent. You are innocent. Creation. You are creation. What does that mean? That means you are an extension of perfect purity. You are an extension of perfect purity and innocence. You are an extension of perfect innocence and love. I don't care if you believe it. I don't care if you believe it. I don't care if you tune out. I don't care if you don't believe a word that I'm saying. Whether you agree with me or not has nothing to do with the truth of what I'm saying. Whether you look at it the way I look at it has nothing to do with the truth. And that's what I love. So I'm going to remind you of the truth about you, whether you accept it or believe it or not. So if you're accusing anybody right now in your mind, and you're condemning somebody, just remember you are doing the opposite of your function. And your function and your happiness are one. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Your function and your happiness are one, man. That's the way it is, man. That's the way it is, man. That's the way it is. Do you want to be a happy learner? Do you want to be a happy learner? Then you can't feel guilty about learning. Don't beat yourself up if you make some mistakes while you're learning. To be a happy learner, you can't feel guilty about learning. So if you want to know what a holy relationship is, the Course in Miracles talks about a holy relationship. And a holy relationship is simply a relationship where the two of you have answered the calling. And in that relationship, you have both devoted yourself with active willingness to reminding each other of your innocence. That means you are both protectors of each other's innocence. That you want that person to always know they're valuable and that they're loved and that they are powerful and that they are blessed. So you would be the last one that would attack them. You would be the last one that condemned them. Because you want to be a living expression of love that they can actually see. Because you are loved, loving, and lovable. You are loved, loving, and lovable. I am loved, loving, and lovable. Mighty companion, may the course be with you. All those live classes on the Earl Purdy page on Facebook. Give somebody, do you know who you need to work on seeing as innocent? I would advise you to start with the people that's the easiest first. Don't start with the hardest person. Start with the easiest person for you to see as innocent and loving. That's where you start. Mighty companion,